mic's muted. There we go. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to Tactical Tuesday. We're getting tactical today with Liam Vsl. He just went undefeated over there at the Hanseatic Alliance Open, presented by Tabletop Alliance, playing Tzeentch. Liam, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you to invite me. It's cool to be there.
Yeah. And I know this isn't the first time that you've been on the channel, I guess, sort of as a whole, because you were a finalist in the first T5S2 Invitational we ran, right?
Yeah, back in the day, like 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago. That was against Jaime Paris, right? That was a hell of a game, actually.
I mean, he destroyed me, I remember.
Yeah. I think that was... traveling down memory lane, that was right when the edition came out. It was like the first time we played on Data Cry Salvage, right? And nobody really understood how bad that mission was, I think, back then.
And it was... I didn't understand who Space Wolf for. I mean,
yeah.
I charged him and he killed me.
Yeah. And for a while, I think that ended halfway through that event, but that was when Space Wolves had total army obsec too. Everybody got objectives secured.
Yeah. No, I remember mainly Magnus doing Force Might in a turn.
Yeah, that was also that was also illegal back then. What a time early 9th edition was.
That was a good time.
Yeah, super fun. But now we're talking about the much more refined game that is the current incarnation of 9th edition Warhammer 40k. And we're talking about this event that you absolutely smashed, Liam. So congratulations on an undefeated record. But we want to talk a little bit about you first. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into 40k and what factions you typically like to play?
So yeah, of course. I start when I was like 12 with friends, and like I only collect back then, and then 5 years ago or something, I think I go back into the hobby and like starting to play a little bit more game, like to start to understand the rules and stuff. And then like 6 months after starting, I tried my first tournament and quite enjoy. I like to play to win, right? So I started to do more and more tournaments. So I start mainly with Chaos. Back in the day was World Eater, so I have like 50 Berserk that wait for the new codex in like the next month. I'm happy for that. So I start with Chaos Space Marine, and then like in 8, like I started to soup a little bit, so start to buy some Death Guard, start to buy some Thousand Sons, start to buy some Demons. So now I have like every Chaos Demon army, every Chaos army, beside Knight, because Big Knight is boring in my... I don't like to play a big model. I prefer to play a lot of model, but yeah.
That's fair enough.
So I start with KO, and then when the White Dwarf come with Harlequin, like end of 8th edition, I start to play Harlequin. And then Kovic drop, so or like it was after Kovic drop or something. And then I discovered TTS and start to play a lot on TTS. So I start to play TTS with Harlequin mainly back in the day.
Yeah, no, right now, I think that's where I know you from is playing Harlequins. I actually didn't know that you were Chaos originally, and you sort of adopted Harlequins.
Yeah, I mean, I was the Harlequin guy for a while, but to be fair, Harlequin was so cool to play and like so fun, so I did enjoy them a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm mainly a Chaos guy, first normally.
Yeah.
When they're good, I guess.
Yeah, it does make sense that there's an overlap there, right? Because Harlequins are, they're a little bit easier to kill than Chaos, but both factions are very tricksy and very movement oriented, so it makes sense that, you'd gravitate towards both of them.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. So let's talk about this event. We talked about it on the show when it happened. So this was the first weekend of October 1st through 3rd. The Hanseatic Alliance Open, 140-player major over there in Germany. Is this speaking as a somebody over the seas in the U.S., we don't know too much about these larger events over in Europe. So is this one of these big events that you're prepping for and looking forward to for like the entire season?
So to be honest, I got in. So basically, they were like So a friend of mine won a ticket lottery like the week before the event or 2 weeks before the event. No, little bit more than that. A month before the event. So like back then I was not planning to go, but then he won the ticket and already had the ticket, and I had like tried to win the ticket too. So he gave me the ticket. So in the end, like I did go to that tournament a little bit by chance. So for me, like it was not really like a purpose, but like I know that it's like the biggest tournament in Germany, and like that give a lot of points for the ranking. Like by only doing this tournament, I like jumped like a lot of place in the German ranking, and it was my first tournament in that ranking. So yeah, I think that that's like worth a lot of points for the ranking. That means that they get invited in the end of the year for the invitational, but to be honest, like go check like on in Head, I guess they are talking about. I don't really know the stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We could probably talk to Fred over there, who has probably some more info for us on that German circuit. But that's interesting. It's just not even planning to go, but just randomly show up and win all your games NBD.
Obviously, it's a big tournament, so it's always cool to go like do like an eight round of 40k in a tournament and like meet people.
Yeah.
Like in the end, I was planning for the next tournament this time. It's also a super major, but it's in Netherlands and it's also 8 round. So I'm planning for that one because I did go last year, so I want to. Last year I lost in the final, so I want to get my revenge there.
Oh yeah, fair enough. There's you got everything on the line now. It's time to take it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one used WTC scoring, so differential score out of
it was differential
20,
but not the same as WTC.
Oh, okay.
It was a little bit easy to score 20 than in WTC, and also when you won by 1 point, it was directly a win, not a draw.
Right.
Because if you look at WTC, you need to score more than 6 points, more than 5 points, so 6 points or more, to start to win 11-9.
Yeah.
But here, if you score like 1 to 4, it was 11. Like instead of being 5 points to get a point of differential, it was only 4 and starting on 0, not on 6.
Right.
But it was makes sense for solo, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's so it's the same differential scoring, but obviously not a team event. It's still a singles event. So yeah, you can't use the same rules where, like you said, where you have to win big to actually get a W. You know, as long as you can outscore your opponent, you're good to go. Now, I couldn't find any information about the terrain at this event. Can you give us like a little bit about what a typical table looks like?
So they are using the Alliance Open terrain, which is really good. It's like tend to be like really dense, but like it's a little bit with a corner piece. So it's a little bit like WTC, so it's really dense, but as long as you can like move or deep strike, you can get angle.
Mm-hmm.
And like the objectives tend to be like half-half. So sometimes they are like really hiding, depend of the mission, but sometimes they are in the open. But it's like a good mid table. I like them a lot. It's like you can get angle if you move, but you can also hide. Like if you start normally, if your opponent want to hide, he's gonna hide in every corner in his DZ, and you're gonna see nothing. But if you want to start to control the board, he has to expose. So yeah, a lot of like stuff like that. But they were really good.
So it had did it have just a set of layouts?
No, they were.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think they have like 6 table or something.
Okay.
And we had like a document in like before the event to know how they will like. Everything is like we were changing the table depending on the mission and stuff like that.
Oh,
they were really,
perfect.
really. So yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, so it had preset terrain, but it was determined for each mission, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
And there were like 5 different tables or something.
Yeah. I was just on the stream with Joe from War Games Live over the weekend, and we were talking about, I think, our favorite setup for terrain, and I think we both agreed that was our favorite. It was like a preset terrain. Everybody knew what it was, but if you changed for the mission so that you didn't have like random objectives that were in the middle of nowhere and nobody could hide on, and you would just get shut off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So sounds good. Sounds like a good time. Moving on, we can talk about your list a little bit. So you elected to I guess, follow the trend here with the new Chaos Demons coming out to take Thousand Suns plus a bunch of Flamers. Can you tell us about, why are you taking out? I know Harlequins are super strong right now. You're a Harlequin guy sometimes. Why did you take these guys over Harlequins?
So Harlequin mainly is because a month ago it was WTC, and for WTC I was the Harlequin guy because I'm on Team Belgium for the WTC, so I was the Harlequin guy there. So I did 300 games with Harlequin in 6 months or something like that.
Oh my god!
So I was a little bit bored of Harlequin and wanted to change mainly, and also I was not confident into the hardest matchup of Harlequin is Tyrannid. And I'm generally not confident to face Tyrannid with Harlequin.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there. Yeah, in team it's really okay because I avoid Tyrannid, and if I get Tyrannid I just try to get a little lost, and maybe I get the only way to get a win against Tyrannid is to accept I'm gonna lose, and maybe wait for the mistake of my opponent, and if I see the mistake, go all in. So obviously against a good player that doesn't happen, in theory. I was there, okay, yeah. Harlequin are cool, I play them a lot, and the gameplay is also kind of similar, so I'm a little bit bored.
Yeah.
So I was debating between CSM and mainly CSM, because after WTC I start to play CSM, so Emperor Children and but I was not finding my way I want. I didn't manage to find the list I like. It was all about those big blob of Terminator, and I wanted to try more MSU, but that didn't work that well, and the secondary was also not really something I could establish a plan on it, so I was kind of meh. And then I tried the CSM plus Demon, and then for a training game I say why not try then the Votan come, and everyone started to play Votan, which was not allowed to the tournament. But I was there, okay, and I decided to play Tyson at once to test versus Votan to see what happened, and I absolutely crushed them. So I was there, oh, cool, I have I can play 2 Votan, let's see, for the future, if that's useful.
Yeah.
And I thought about the list a lot, and in fact, Tyson are really, really strong, I found out, and because I was playing them back in the day when Custodes was the big thing, with Emperor Chosen, and I couldn't play into Custodes, it was too hard. But all the rest of the field was always kind of okay, I could play. But now that Custodes is gone, I was I can play now. So I decided to test Tyson, and yeah, I'm really happy with the list. Right?
Yeah. So that's interesting. We can take a little bit of a tangent here because now I'm interested. We're talking about Leads of Votan. Where did you fall on were they too powerful pre-nerf, and now are you still worried about them now that they've gotten massively points reduced?
So I was managing. I mean, pre-nerf. I only played the pre-nerf with Tyson versus Votan, but also we need to find out that it was only the third or fourth game of my opponent, and maybe the list was not optimal.
Right.
The list was optimal, but he didn't knew how to play it properly, and we need maybe time to adapt. But yeah, back in the day I was feeling confident versus pre-nerf Votan, but I didn't knew a lot of. I'm still learning Votan for the moment, but yeah, obviously everyone was saying it was too really, really strong, broken and stuff, and I tend to trust most of the people. Some people I heard saying that I trust them, so I agree. Even if I didn't make the experiment myself, but but yeah, and it's a good thing that they get nerfed, right? Because now I guess the game is more fun.
Right.
They seem even if they are still probably one of the best army apparently, they seem better to play versus them. So yeah.
Yeah, at least it's such a straightforward game plan, right? Because you're just trundle forward with all your guys, you shoot everybody, and then pass the turn. I can definitely see, even if it's not super strong, it's really boring. So I can see them wanting to nip that in the bud just to prevent that game plan from being popular. Go ahead.
Yeah. but yeah, there is I think the book is gonna become stronger than right now because like there is like a lot of options to explore and we will see.
Yeah.
I don't think the book is necessarily too boring. Like I saw there is some cool stuff like I saw the Terminator that can deep strike and shot mortal wound. They're
Yeah.
kind of cool. Even Berserk that are like fighting on death.
Yeah.
They are slow, but I mean
Right.
we will see.
But they're in a
like,
land fortress, so it's probably
you
fine.
put them in the land fortress, you move them 24 away, and then even if you move 5, you win fast. Huh?
Yeah.
Like when you are like next to your opponent, you don't need to move more than 5 to kill you.
Yeah, if they have to charge your land fortress to kill the land fortress, your own speed value doesn't matter anymore. You're already in melee.
Go.
All right, good stuff. So can you give us a quick rundown of your list? I have it up on screen here for everybody to check it out, and you can exclamation point list as well, everybody in chat, and I think I put it in the video description too if you want to read along. But can you give us a quick rundown and why you took this particular archetype? And you said it was sort of MSU, and that's definitely what we're looking at right here.
Yeah. So I start with but the main thing is Thousand Sun still. So I have Ahriman as a warlord with no warlord trait, with Tzeentch Firestorm, Infernal Gaze, and Presage. So he's mainly the Mortal Wound guy, and he can sometimes cast Presage when I need it, but he can do like the 3 spell to do Mortal Wound. Because with his reroll, he's really like, I can rely on him to cast spell. Then I have the Infernal Master with -1 to hit, and so he has the +1 strength prayer and the free reroll, and the crystal to deep strike 1 unit. Then I have the main unit of my list is the 6 unit of Rubric. So I have like one that had Flamer because I had some points and it's always useful. And then I have like 2 units with Doombolt, 2 with Wartime, Temporal Surge. Then 1 with Weaver and 1 with Cacophonic Curse. That's the Malediction, it's only to open Wrath of Magnus in some matchup. Then I have the 10-man Terminator with the upgrade to know 2 spell. So they know the +6 to the range and Temporal Surge. And 5 spawn and a single spawn to screen. A Rhino. So I'm a Cult of Duplicity obviously for using all my deep strike power, and then with the crystal I can use 2 deep strike in 1 turn, or like the main stuff is I can deep strike in the movement phase and then deep strike in the magic phase, so that's really useful. And then I have the demon part with the Change Caster, with the staff, and he know Bolt of Change and Flickering Flame, or I don't know, Infernal Flame now I think. +1 to wound for Flamer basically.
Yeah.
And then 6, 5, and 3 Flamer.
So not the full 18. So we're not all in on Flamers. Although you have to be... Is it less than 25% to count it as Agents of Chaos? So you can't...
Yeah, it's less than 20. But it's possible because it's not with points. It's with...
it's power level.
Power level, and Thousand Sun are really expensive on power level.
Good old
like
power
if
level.
I won there, I could have gone to like 18 Flamer. I really think it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Actually, in my new list, I think I dropped some Flamer to put some other stuff. So
Wow, controversial.
We will talk to that later.
Yeah. I notice. I've been finding as well that like 18 Flamers does feel like overkill, because sometimes you're sending a unit of 6 Flamers to kill like 7 models, and you're like, I don't need this. I could kill this up with 3. Like, unnecessary force allocation.
And also during my game, what I found out is that Flamer are sometimes more useful to put banner than shooting actually.
Oh, 100%.
So having
a
12-inch moving infantry that fly and just put banner everywhere, it's really useful.
Yeah.
Especially in late game. So
yeah, I bet my Flamers only fire maybe 2 turns out of the game, most of the games that I play them. Because they're putting banners down, they're running to objectives. Like, sometimes they just get engaged in melee and fight people because they have 3 attacks each.
Like, I find out that I was playing Flamer really not great, I find. Like, not like I was being tagged all the time. I was there, I fucked up here, I shouldn't. So I was there, yeah. But I mean, in the end, the Flamer, if I want to describe there, are mainly there as a like distraction carniflex or something like that.
Sure.
They are mainly there to force to screen you and to get like the Terminator are that the Terminator are the like most
Right.
dealing damage in the end, I think.
That's like the big battleship that like goes around and blows people up with its guns, right? But the
Yeah,
flamers are like they're just like the little destroyers that run around and
yeah, the flamer
solve
give
problems.
target to the Terminator mainly because like you don't want to get hit by flamer, so you screen.
Right.
So then I can shoot with my Terminator from 30 away, and without getting shot back or like because I choose my angle because I'm deep striking and shooting all the time. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Now, do you find that there's also like a synergy between the flamers and the Terminators in the other direction, where people also don't want to get shot by the Terminators at weird angles, so they like over screen, and then your flamers just have easy things to shoot at too?
Yeah, also that's both that work in both cases. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I value my Terminator a lot more than my flamer, so I prefer when like I don't want to expose my I don't want to expose my Terminator in turn 1 to 3. So even if like they would let a big gap where I could fit my Terminator and like shoot a bunch of things, I tend to not go for it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that it seems like the two units sort of complement each other pretty well. And the fact that like your Thousand Suns and you have so many mortal wounds too helps
yeah.
dealing with like the super high toughness and like weird, phase cap stuff and like -1 to wound stuff that the flamers sometimes have trouble with.
Yeah, most of my damage are only smite in the end. Huh?
Yeah.
Like the real hero are the rubric. They do everything in the end. Like they score me points and then they kill stuff because they are randomly good at killing guys in every phase of the game. So
Yeah.
I'm charging guys with rubric and that's awesome. Like my staff sorcerer are like just randomly casting everything and I was there.
I was like, yeah, I got a force weapon. I don't know. Here's D3 damage. Boop.
Sometimes I just like pick up a Tyrannid warrior like for free. Like
Yeah. Nice. Sick.
No, the real potatoes of the list are definitely the rubric. Do everything in my list. And then like the spawn are like to sometimes like delay my opponent or kill a unit and die. The Terminator are there to kill the screen.
Yeah.
And the Flamer are there to force the screen to come.
Sure.
Basically.
I think chat, just to answer your question, Torin, we'll probably do more of a Q&A at the end. Yeah, we'll save things for a Q&A so we don't break the flow too much. Now, do you find normally that you're putting the flamers in demonic manifestation, or do you start them on the table typically, or is it a mix?
So it's really depend on the army I face. Like if I know I'm gonna get rush, I'm gonna at least put one flamer unit on the board, and the two other in deep strike to force like if he rush me too heavily, I can put unit in his backfield, and between the deep striking, I'm starting to be everywhere, so he cannot really know where he can rush. So if he doesn't want to be in this situation, he has to screen. So he lose some unit to screen, and like the pressure on me is a little bit less.
Sure.
But or if I'm facing against like Thor or a big shooty army, I know I'm not gonna get rush. So I'm like, they're okay. I'm just gonna put all the flamer in deep strike, and I'm gonna wait on where I need them because I'm probably not. I don't need them turn 1 anyway. So yeah, it really depends on what I'm facing. Typically, I would say go like one unit on the board to at least like put banner and stuff like that. So the 3 men on the board, and the 2 big blob was in deep strike, or
Sure.
That was typically or like so depending if it's, and also when I'm getting rush, I'm probably putting like at least the big man on the table, and maybe the second one, and only like the character and the 3 men in deep strike to have like a little pocket I can create in the later turn.
Yeah. So here's another question: do you ever find that manifesting the flamers on the table is easier because you have chaos spawn in your army? Because the chaos spawn also project that -1 leadership bubble too, right?
No, that doesn't work. I'm not. So I can put them in deep strike, and I can only put them in 9 inches.
Oh, they don't get the regular manifestation?
Yeah, the regular manifestation doesn't work in soup.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, I didn't know that was a faction ability. Well, there you go. So we're just doing normal deep strikes with flamers. I guess that makes more sense that they would stay out more often, because it does get really awkward to, especially when you're doing mortal wounds. It gets really awkward to shoot with them if they're 9-inch screened.
Yeah, and also like, but generally I'm not using like where I put my mortal wound, I'm not gonna put the flamer because
Right.
it will be overkill.
Yeah.
But
You
like
just mortal wound yourself out of range at that point.
Yeah, and for transport, like for Harlequin, the problem is like when you put the flamer, you know the troop are gonna like
The
go
emergency
out the
disembark
other
out of
side,
range.
so I will not be in his range.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, flamer on the board are like often you only need to move 12 plus an advance and then flame something. So
Right.
like don't hesitate. Like as a 2000 Sun, like the deep striking part is less relevant because you already have so many deep striking between the spell and the relic that it's more about like avoid getting rush or like the counter punch than anything else. But really it depends.
Yeah.
Like there is no like final answer on that. Like it really depends on the matchup.
Sure. All right. So last question before we move on and talk about your games. 6 units of Rubric Marines is probably the most I've seen in a 1,000 Suns detachment in a really long time. Can you tell me about taking 6 units of guys? That's a lot of dudes.
But because Rubric are the best unit in the Codex, in my opinion, that's maybe a spicy pick, but like a hot take. But like I always had played like so many Rubric, and they are so awesome. Like you, so at the first thing they did get a buff in the last point drop because the icon is free now, so you get two ritual cabalistic for each of them.
Yeah.
And then you get a free little flamer on the surgeon, like the strength 3 AP2 1 damage. And if you have some point, you can always like I had one squad with 4 flamer.
Yeah.
But then with Rubric, you just play the game with them. Like I have the Rhino, so generally I have 2 units in the Rhino, one next the Rhino, and one on my home objective, and then 2 or 3 on the other side, depending on how I play. And like they just do so much. Like they do potentially up to 9 mortal wound in the magic phase. Like on average they do 8. Then they shoot, then they fight. Okay, so they do everything. So like. But I have my little squad with Doombolt, so I can do like Doombolt plus spend a CP to do a smite, make it flat 3 and cast an extra D3 with the ritual. So that allow me to kill like heavy target when I need them, and then I can do that like, and then deep strike away. So that's kind of a fire and fate.
Sure.
I can also like go on objective. Like I have, so the list work around mainly around the Thousand Sun secondary plus banner most of the time, or kill one. But like, and
So
you
that's
always,
Wrath of Magnus specifically, right?
yeah, no, Wrath of Magnus when you can take it or
Yeah.
that. But mainly it's around mutate landscape. I like
Sure,
take
yeah.
mutate in every mission, against everyone, and then you can just send the rubric. You mutate an objective far away, and then you deep strike them back, and you just wait on your opponent. And yeah, they're just so cheap and so good for what they cost. So yeah, I like them a lot.
Sure. Yeah, I guess the fact that it's basically like a little intercessor squad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That has like, its guns higher AP. It's better in melee because the sorcerer basically just has like a free power weapon that does D3 damage. And then also it has a psychic phase and contributes to your Kabbalistic ritual. So
And they are fucking tough also.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Randomly, like you can put 5 rubrics on an objective, and they have the invuln save, and they have the all is dust, right? So they're you probably don't lose them unless your opponent dedicates more than 100 points to kill them.
And you can always put -1 damage. So like there is very few guns that kill them in shooting. In fact,
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
you just stand in cover with like 1 up save against damage 1 and like. No, 0 up against.
Yeah, it looks like Torin had a question in chat about no Soul Reapers on the Rubric Marines. Do you ever find yourself missing the heavy weapon, or does it matter that much?
It's just a question of point. I didn't have the point.
Sure.
And to be honest, most of the time I don't want to expose my rubric unless I expose them all the time. Either I go for a threat saturation and I expose every rubric, my Terminator, my Flamer, I know they're not going to kill anything. Or I expose nothing and only use really the psychic phase and play around the movement or the charge. And Soul Reaper are cool, but when you don't have the point, like it's either a Soul Reaper or a Spawn. I would take the Spawn because in the end the Spawn is more useful than an extra damage. But yeah, if I had the points, I would take them for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But the spawn are so efficient. Like you can't really like give up extra spawn. Feels like
can you backfield? You can like put a solo spawn on the objective, hiding, and then your opponent have to say, okay, I'm gonna deny your opponent, your primary, but I have to dedicate like a more expensive unit than a spawn, so it initiates trade. So
and then sometimes they roll low, and the spawn just heals, and they're just like.
They don't heal in CS.
It's only CSM ones it too.
It's only in CSM that they heal, but I mean, even
those dastardly Chaos Space Marines with their better units.
Also on data scribe, he is really useful because he's gonna do my my action on my objective the whole game, and I know I don't have to. So yeah, spawn is good.
Yeah, you also got the Rhino for that too.
I mean, the Rhino is never on my own objective.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like on the edge or like.
I guess that also works for scouring too, right? Because like you can scour.
The job of my Rhino is to put bomb on mission 12. Like that's his. Like in my game in the tournament on the bomb mission, he put like we stopped the game turn 3, but he would have put 4 bombs because he cannot put 5 bombs.
Oh my god!
He had like Rhino are just so awesome. It's the best unit in the codex almost.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rhino is just fucking great. Like.
Yeah, it is funny to see people who like sort of poo-poo rhinos. They're like, oh, that's transport's not that bad, and you're like, is it? Because it's actually pretty good. Transports are generally good, and when you're delivering something relevant, and your army has such threat saturation that your opponent never has the opportunity to really shoot it. It just gets to do whatever it wants all day, and it ends up being super useful.
In the early game, it's just a free 3-inch movement on my rubric. So now with my wartime, my rubric are moving 15 inches and charge. So that's really far away. And then on the late game, you just use the Rhino to bully people or charge guys and tag them.
Soak Overwatch, or probably good in the Demon Mirror, I assume, because you can soak the Flamer Overwatch on the Rhino.
Yeah, or like screen.
Yeah.
No, Rhino are awesome. And you get an invul for them and a bolter that is AP2 for free. So you're happy, right?
Literally no downsides. Let's go, Rhino. All right, let's talk about some games. So this is like full on, real big major energy here because we played 8 total games over the course of the weekend. Starting on Friday, right? It was 2 games on the Friday, or 3, or it was Saturday through Monday.
Monday, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because
so
it was
3, and then 2 on the Monday.
Yeah.
So basically the same as LGT, right? Which was the same weekend, right?
Yeah, we finished at the same time almost, or like the same day.
Bam. So there was like over the course of Europe, and I think there was a couple other GTs that weekend that were maybe had like 80 people in it. But over the course of sort of the RTT or above RTT scene in Europe, there was like 1,000 people playing. Does that sound right? Because there was like 150 here, 700 in London, and then I think there's probably another 200 in other GTs, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. That's pretty cool. What a weekend!
It was a big one,
huge. So round 1 up against Tyranids. This was Death and Zeal. So the 5 objectives with the locking in the no man's land, and this is kind of a little bit of a spicy High Fleet Leviathan list, because it was it had an Exocrine and 6 Carnifexes, which is like a list after my own heart. But I can't imagine that having a bunch of mortal wounds is a little bit awkward for those guys.
Yeah, and also like I didn't understand why the list was Leviathan and not like something else to get upsec on big monster or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's mostly for because he took the Leviathan adaptive trait, so he gets the floating reroll, and the Carnifex good on the Venom Cannon Carnifexes, less good on the Screamer Killers, but they're just running around doing whatever.
So the list was kind of meh because he had like a walking Tyrant, they don't like Mortal Wound. Like one rubric squad pick up a Carnifex and then they trade down.
Yeah.
And, also, like, Ahriman was pick up... Like, in Magic, I could take like 3 carnifex if I wanted. So it was like, beside the turn they are in 5 up field open versus Mortal Wound, the rest was open bar.
Yeah.
Then like they had good save versus damage 1, but like I do so much AP1 that so. And also the player was like less experienced than me, so yeah.
Sure.
I did just run over that list.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, speaking from experience too, this matchup can get really awkward because you want to... Although I don't know if he had Tyrant Guard. Do you just not have Tyrant Guard?
No, he didn't even have time.
There's no Tyrant Guard. Okay, well...
He was putting his field open on the Hive Tyrant, and
Sure.
I was there. I'm not gonna kill that stuff in far away, so I didn't even try to kill it.
Yeah, but yeah, he's only shooting like 3 shots back at you, right? And like the shard, it's shard
Yeah,
bullet, so that's big shots, but it's not
But I just ignore
huge.
it.
Yeah. But the one thing in that matchup that's always scary to me is because I play Flyrants, you know, probably more than is good for me. And I know that you always have to play so aggressively to screen out your Hive Tyrant, even if it's standing next to the Tyrant Guard. Because if you get too aggressive with it and it's towards the front of your army, even if it's not targetable or range attacks, you could just smite it to death and it will just die to mortal wounds. Which always feels bad. So you can't like do the thing where you hide everyone, but they're slightly ahead of your Hive Tyrant, and then the Hive Tyrant's hanging out and ready to charge because they're just like going to teleport a bunch of stuff over and rip the Hive Tyrant off the table. Just so scary.
The best way to play versus Tyson is you rush him with everything, and then I cannot deal with everyone.
Yeah.
But Flamer helped to deal with a lot of stuff now.
Yeah, for sure.
But no.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. The list there was like the mission, like everything. The table was okay for me because I could hide well and have a good like. I had my Rhino in a good. No, he killed my Rhino turn 1. I was a little bit. I put him a little bit in a dangerous position. That was my bad. But yeah, then the Terminator made a lot of stuff. And
yeah. So 1-0, going around 2. We got Tau, a little bit closer of a score this time around, and on essentially the mirrored mission, so conversion, which is the same layout, but it doesn't have the locking objectives. So how did this one go?
This one was on string. Yeah, it was the best 2 German players, so it was a really, really cool game.
Ooh.
So Yannick, the table was shit for me because there were no objectives that I could hold while being hide. Only my DZ was kind of okay because I could put a character and a unit that was in front and hiding. But yeah, so I couldn't hold objective while being hide, so I had to wait. Like the strategy versus ToW is generally to wait until turn 3, 4, 5 because I know they can table me in 2 turns. But if we are turn 4, they don't have 2 turns to table me anymore, right? So that was the plan, and that worked really well. He also bombed my Terminator, so he killed 2, and so I did the trick. I waited to have a good occasion, but I did the trick with like I do a bunch of smites, and then the minimum chaos value is a 9, so I can resurrect a Terminator and charge easily. So I did that in his backline, and he was.
That's what the Sorceress Infusion is called, right? When you boss a psychic power, you can pay to regenerate a guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I managed to do the 5 and charge in his backline and put my 10 Terminator on the backline and say, it's my objective, on his back objective, and say, it's my objective. And like, also on this mission, like we kind of really close to each other. So like turn 1, he put a unit of Croat on the middle objective. And then like me, I just move Rubric out of my Rhino, double move them, and then charge the Croat. And with the charge distance, I managed to hit his home objective where there is no obsec. So turn 1 he started on a 0 primary because he didn't like invest a lot of stuff to put on the middle objective.
Yeah.
And against ToW I can do the strategy to mortal wound and then go hide and like kill a lot of chaff to wait until the big turn I come with all the flamer, all the Terminator, and then and ToW struggle to kill flamer in the end, I find out.
Yeah.
Because like 3 Hammerhead was
permanently is super strong.
Yeah, the 3 Hammerhead was only good to do 3 mortal wound to me, so he was like wounding killer guys, but I was succeeding my 3 up, so it was like
yeah, even if you fail, right, it's only 2 models, so you're like, okay. Good job. 160 point gunship.
Yeah, and I tend to kill ToW just fine, so it was cool.
Yeah, I think that's generally the experience with Tau. It's funny, I commentated a Farsight Enclave's list that's similar to this over the weekend, but it had, I think, instead of, it didn't have the Fireblade, but it had a third commander in a second detachment, but it had an Enforcer commander for exactly that situation that you were talking about, where something touches an objective and they just point at the Crisis Battlesuit team and they take it back. So yeah, it's interesting to see, like, you know, Thousand Suns, an army that's not necessarily known for its mobility, like able to just yeet those MSU rubric squads like you were talking about.
That's the main use of rubric, is to deny objective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And against to everything is play on the primary almost.
Right.
And if you play the primary, then the secondary doesn't score because like to rely on decisive action on the late game. But if you have kill all the obsec and stuff, they will not take objectives from you, so they don't score that well.
Yeah.
Even though they will score no prisoner and abort the witch on like close to 15 because I'm giving like I have 17 points on no prisoner and 23 of abort the witch, so like it's okay. So he did score like I think 14 and 15 on those secondary, no problem.
That is pretty ballsy though. You're just like, all right, you get like probably 25 on 2 secondaries, but I'll still win. Like, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I get like a 12 on mutate, and like what did I took banner for like a good 10, and then I had took sorcerer's prowess, which is the one I need to kill unit in magic because he had like a lot of 4-man recruit and unit like this. But in the end, on the end that one didn't work out really well. I only scored like 6, I think, which was meh, but still better than most of the secondary against Toe because my gameplay doesn't work as well to take Wrath of Magnus against Toe. But
yeah, and this list in particular seems pretty well designed not to give up too many secondaries. It only drops 10 on Bring It Down, right? And it's no prisoners as low because it only has the one battlesuit team. Yeah, interesting. All right, but that put us around 3 up against orcs on Tear Down Their Icons. So this was this is the bomb mission. So this is when the Rhino was doing the bomb act, just dropping explosives on the enemy territory.
Poor orc, it was really bad for them. Like the player knew it was a bad matchup because we discussed like before. Like I say, yeah, for me. And then like he started, and then I start to worry because like I thought he would like call the wag and like send everything in my face to delay me, and then like score a lot of primary, and then like because he had like kill rig and I couldn't kill everything in one turn. He started and played it really slow, so I was happy because I could like kill a lot turn 1, and then he started to move more aggressive on turn 2, but at that point it was too late.
Oh, sure.
Yes,
that was orcs going first, you said, right?
Yeah. I tabled him, I think, on turn 3. And
wow. I'm especially the kill rig list, right? So this is double kill rig plus the double beast nagas to go inside. And I am so terrified of going second against that list because I have so many experiences where it's like Drukhari when they released, right? Where the orc player goes first, runs his whole army to the middle of the table, and if you don't break their back on the bottom of one, their whole army charges your whole army, and you're too far back to be able to like fight back into the game. And I've had that happen so many times.
He also had the 10 pig, like what's the name?
The Squeak-Hog Riders, the Squeak-Hog boys. Yeah.
So I was worried he just like sent the Squiggle turn 1 into like I had a wall of spawn to tank, and I was worried he just go in, kill the spawn, and like just surround me with them, and then I'm fucked. Because like if he screened the whole table, he has commando everywhere. Like he screened the whole table, and I have to kill him through the pig and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's annoying. But instead he played really defensively, so I just pushed the spawn, and then it was me that was like rushing him.
You could flip the script, right? Because the downside is that most of that stuff is either vehicle or cavalry keyworded, so it doesn't go through walls very well. So I imagine that you were able to like sort of chain between terrain pieces and block a lot of it in.
And also at one point he doesn't kill me. Like orc do nothing to me. Like the character are a little bit annoying, the kill rig are a little bit annoying, but all the rest of his list does 0 damage to me.
Yeah.
So he only changed to beat me was to rush me and score a lot of early lead and hope it was enough.
Yeah.
I would have still probably won, but it wouldn't have like the game it was. But yeah, we discussed after, and he understood. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that goes to show you, like, you know, people out there, orcs are in kind of a weird place right now because they're not as bad as people say, but I think, like you said, you have to play that super aggressive. Like, you have to embrace the inner WoW, right? Where you just like you pedal to the metal, you win the roll to go first, you just lock your opponent in the deployment zone, and you rack points up as quickly as possible because your army's not going to survive. That's what orcs are here for. They're here to charge people to stand on their objectives.
I mean, at least the buff pressure style.
Yeah,
Because in
for
the
sure.
event there is another orc player that did really really well with a more like shooty version. That was really really interesting.
Yeah, I know there's
Like,
still, you know, the Army of Renown's like still playable. There are some like Def Copta lists are running around that still bounce the Def Coptas.
but also like some Forge War, like the cannon wagon are good. Like obviously the plane are still okay.
For sure.
And like you can play like Death Skull with full obsec little infantry and
Yep.
deny points. And the orc secondary are really good. And so you can just play like the mission and try to win by with stuff. But yeah.
Yeah,
Not a lot.
absolutely. So that gets us on to round 4 against another Chaos player. This time it's Abaddon walking the dogs, but he brought friends to the around because we got 3 different Chaos sub factions. He's got his House Herpatrax war dogs. He also has his new Demons Patrol Detachment. So it looks like 2 units of 6 Flamers, but this one also a Demonette. So we have some potentially deep striking infantry for OBSEC in the
Oh,
list.
yeah.
So how'd you feel about this one?
I mean, it was Mish Data, so it was Mission 13, Data Scry. He starts, but my army is like, there is 2 stuff. First, Flamer are good to kill Knights, and Flamer are not good to kill Rubric and Terminator and Cover.
Yeah.
Because I get a 2 obsave. So that was already a big stuff. Then the second part is Mortal Wound are good to kill Knight. Like Reaper Autocannon and the Weapon of the Night are not good to kill Rubric and Terminator. Only the close combat. Then obviously there is Abaddon that can pick out everything he touch, but
Yeah.
kind of whatever.
But it is Thousand Suns, right? So you are good, like both shooting and psychic. Melee, maybe, but you can probably do 6 to him in 1 turn, let him do his thing, and then kill him whenever.
Yeah, or just ignore him. Like it was a mission on 6 objectives, so I say okay, you live there. Because I didn't kill it in the whole game. Because I had like Knight to kill before.
Yeah.
But yeah. And
There's
so
other things in this list. Look at all these war dogs.
what happened was he start and push on one flank. So I deep strike everything on that flank and kill everything was on that flank. Like there were only like 2 knights on the flank that had, because like he has worse secondary than me. Because me, I take Wrath of Magnus because he has a Psyker. I take Muted Landscape. On that mission, it's like an auto 15 if nothing happens. And I take Bring It Down because I will kill Knight at one point. And then he has to take like Ruthless Tyranny or Banner, No Prisoner, and like the Ruthless Tyranny he take automatically, but he has to take Banner or the action in the moral phase. And the stuff he has to make sure is that the secondary only can be scored with Knight. So he has to expose the Knight to score his secondary. So then he starts on one flank and then I kill everything on that flank. And then he move on the other side and then deep strike everything on the other side and kill everything on that flank. And then in the end there were Abaddon on one flank that was guarding a flank. But he was guarding that one objective, which on that mission doesn't matter.
Right.
So, yeah, it was
Yeah.
a big win also. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I imagine, and just Christopher, thanks for the membership, by the way. That's interesting that it feels like that would be a pretty decent mission for Chaos, just because he has so many war dogs. Each of them steals an objective basically automatically, right? Because they're 5 model OBSEC.
Yeah.
And then, backs that up with Abaddon and the Flamers that can kind of problem solve. But it seems to me like and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the profiles that Thousand Suns have are already good at killing war dogs and knights and things because you have so many mortal wounds. But also just like a silver bullet to other demons. And I know I've spoken to some demon players who are like really sad about the Thousand Suns matchup. And if demons become a big part of Chaos lists, Thousand Suns might get a big boost because they're super good at killing them.
Yeah, I mean, we will talk about the demon patch-up later because it's coming, but yeah, the mortal wound into the demon help, but not that much because demon has a lot of wounds.
Sure.
Between like flamer are really good to tank mortal wound in the end, because like a 6-man is 18 wound, and I probably only do 18 wound mortal wound per battle round. I don't do a lot more.
Yeah.
Like against the knight, it was most of my damage, and I was averagely like 1 knight and some more wound on so 14 plus like 2 to 3 mortal wound per turn. So like it's a lot, but against flame, like he screen with like, I think he put his flamer in deep strike and used them a little bit. It was too late when he used it, basically, because I had killed 4 Warlock, and then he need a Warlock in his backfield, and he always need to screen me because I would infiltrate if not. But yeah, Flame... Tzeentch are definitely a good counter to Demon, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a boost flight. I mean, to be honest, I think Tzeentch are a counter to a lot of faction right now, so...
They are, yeah. Having like so unique of kind of toolbox, I think, means that probably Thousand Suns do fall into that category. But it also seems to me, I guess maybe not so much for the type of list you're playing, but the lists that lean more heavily towards the Terminators and the Soul Reaper cannon squads, and maybe even the Warp Flamer cannon squads, like just being able to attack at such a high volume. Feels, at least on the receiving end, as somebody playing demons, like that's what you need to get through their saves, because shooting them with missile launchers or whatever isn't going to do anything, because their saves are just going to be fine. But if you shoot them with 50 gunshots, then eventually they'll die.
Exactly, like the profile of our demon are just good to pick up demon at range.
Yeah,
like again, I can go to strength 5 plus 1 to wound, so even like T8 I'm okay to kill them. And like Belacor is annoying, but like in the opposite, Demon doesn't do a lot to Tzeentch if you screen well.
Right.
Like, the Demon matchup is just a question of screening in the end.
Sure.
So you screen well, and then so I did it. It was my second time playing them in the tournament, but we will come to that. I guess we should wait all the way.
Yeah. We could talk about Demons a little bit more. Moving on. Right now it's Adeptus Sororitas. We got a Rhino mirror match. 2 rhinos fighting each other. So yeah, how does this one go?
He had an Inquisitor. So the Inquisitor is really good in most matchups, but against Tzeentch, it helps a lot when he cannot take Arbor and you can take a Wrath of Magnus. So, because like we were playing on mission 33, I think, where we moved the objective.
Yep.
And on that mission, Tzeentch have 2 good secondary, which is Leap of Faith and Defend the Shrine. But because I moved the objective first, Defend the Shrine was a lot harder. And Leap of Faith is not easy. Like, if nothing happened, he's gonna struggle to score Leap of Faith, because if I won, I can only kill him in the shooting phase and make sure that or in the magic phase.
Right.
But I can only make sure that he can use his miracle dice once in my turn.
Yep.
So he's never gonna score the point in my turn. So he has to use only in his turn, and then he only need to 8 to 9. So what happened is that I had the advantage on secondary, and also I had placed the objective in a way that he had to send unit to score, because we were 33, so he had to put unit on an objective to score 3 points, and he had to send a unit to score Leap of Defend the Shrine on the same objective. So I just pushed that objective, and then I was pushing every turn that objective, and then he has answered a little bit too hard to it, send it all his Repentia and all his Seferim for not a lot. So then I table him on turn 3, and it was a big victory in the end. But the sister matchup is definitely an interesting matchup overall, because I cannot rush him a lot, because he killed me. Also he made the mistake to think the deny was important and didn't take the patient. You have to take the patient to kill me. Because I don't care about deny you. Right. If you deny me, I have accepted that 6 up to deny or 5 up, that doesn't change anything. You need the 6-6 explode to kill me.
Yeah.
So he took the passion.
I mean, a lot of the important stuff, right? Your buff powers, you're going to try to cast from out of range anyway, right?
Yeah.
And then it only stops the mortal wounds, but the squads are so small anyway. Like, you don't, a Sisters player, you're not expecting your units to survive. Like, even if it is a psychic phase.
My important power to pass every turn is going to be undeniable. Like, if I need wartime close to him, I'm going to make it undeniable. I have so many cabalistic points anyway, so that is not a problem. But so he went too aggressive and I punished him. So it was a 19-1, I think, in the end.
Yeah, it is interesting how. I mean, I imagine Kyria Draxus is in there. You know, she's a pretty good unit to begin with, right? Because she has her offensive fight last, so she can prevent like fight phase manipulation, and she gives you opportunity to psychic interrogate yourself. But you know, sometimes you see those Inquisitors, and especially like Calexis Assassins, included as psychic defense against armies that don't have it normally. And it is funny how randomly sometimes those things just make you more susceptible to psychic factions. Like you know, like you said, turning on Wrath of Magnus, turning off Abhor the Witch, and you know, situationally, if you're trying to use them defensively to push and deny, probably doesn't matter so much in Thousand Suns matchup, but you can psychically interrogate that person. That's super bad for Calexis Assassins, but not so much for the Inquisitor. But that psychic defense, you know, I don't know, maybe a little misdesigned right now because it can work against you a lot. But yeah, your points about the passion's really important too, because he's running on triple Repentia, double Zephyrim, so much of the offense of the squad is baked into that offensive output, and especially those Repentia who are so good against the Terminators.
Like what happened generally is that nothing move. Like I'm only like sending Rubric to deny primary because his secondary are slightly better than mine. If he doesn't have an Inquisitor. But if he doesn't have the passion, I think I can push and survive a lot more than like if he has the passion. Because Repentia through Terminator, there is like no Terminator left if the big blobs hit me almost.
Right.
So yeah, I have to be really careful of that. Like staying outside of 24 and stuff like that. But yeah.
Sure. So that was a big win, 19-1. And put you to round 6, and now we get to talk about the Chaos Demons matchup, because this one was we were on the Scouring, and this one was a 10-10 draw. Yeah. So tell me what happened this time around.
So this one was a really cool game also. So basically I started this time, which was May, because like the mission was like the table was really dense, so you could hold both of your objective next to your deployment zone while being hide. So I couldn't really interact with primary that way. So I had to like start to get angle, and also I was not really familiar with the matchup. So like he was running those Exalted Chariot from Slanesh. And they are just so tanky. I was there, okay, I'm gonna deep strike my Terminator and shoot one to kill it, but I did like 2 wounds because like 4 up, -1 to it. I was like, okay, you're tanky. That's a mistake to do that.
Yeah, they're just points efficient, right? It's just a ton of wounds on a fast profile for basically no points.
Yeah. And then the Terminator were a little bit outside of position. I get hit by a Bloodletter squad plus Mortal Wound and lost like 4, and then they were not really useful. I should have kept them for the late game, like I do most of the time.
Yeah, I guess those Bloodletters are really good against the Terminators too, right? Because they're AP3, so they put you on your invuln, and 2 damage, so they ignore
well, I mean,
all
but it's only 21 attack in the end, no? So it's like 3 up, 3 up.
The downside.
I think I lost 2 Terminator to Bloodletter.
Sure.
The main stuff was they were outside of position, and I was screening well. But then, like, I was leading the game by a lot. But then on turn 4, I made a big mistake. I rushed him, and I shouldn't. Like, that's something I tend to do with rushing people because I don't like to wait, so I tend to rush. And that was like he had take no prisoner, so I decided to rush with my flamer to kill his flamer. And then I killed 6 flamer, and he killed my flamer back a little bit, and it was not needed. And he'd give him like 2 or 3 points on no prisoner that was not needed.
Oh, sure.
Like, yeah, the game was fucking close. But and the mission was not great for Kilson. I think it was one of the worst because every objective are next to them, so I have to interact a lot more than generally.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm pretty sure the demon matchup is really, really manageable. It's just a question of screening well, and you wait that the bloodthirsters go and kill something, or you wait to see the bloodthirster because you can one tap the bloodthirster relatively easily, or put him on bottom profile.
Drop
that means
him.
that he does anything. You did 16 wound and then he do anything because like I failed to kill him with my lovely spawn. So I put him on 4 wound, my spawn full buff charge him. I think I put like 6 or 7 wounds, and like he failed like the second one, and then CP rerolled the 6th one because he had to, because he was on the back full, and lived, but it didn't matter because he didn't even kill the spawn without him.
Yeah, once they go to bottom bracket, those guys are so sad. Spawn thirsters.
Oops. My I think I cut.
Oh, yeah. You're still here. I would just looks like we lost your webcam.
Yeah.
Here it is. Welcome back. Yeah. I think something I did in my game yesterday. I was on stream. I smote the Bloodthirster for 8, and then the Flamer shot him for 8, and then he basically was just surrounded by Flamers. So he had no charges because he would just die in Overwatch. There was no way he could go anywhere.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
In the end, I think I just played that match badly, but I'm pretty sure it's a winning, really easy matchup for T-Sun normally.
Sure. Now, what is your opinion on? So this is obviously it's undivided demons, but there's no Bellacore. What's your opinion on whether or not we play a Bellacore in demons? I know it's a pure demon question, not a Tzeentch demon question.
Yeah.
But
Bellacore is bad.
that's a spicy.
I mean, Bellacore is really good, but he's way too expensive and do really nothing. Like he's 6 attack.
Yeah.
Like he's really tanky and he buff a lot, but he's fucking 420 points. For 420 points, you can put so many stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, with some friend, I did talk a lot demon lately. We were doing a lot of list, and we find out that like if you have Bellacore, you just have like you want the chicken and you want the bloodthirster, I think. But when you have Bellacore, and with that, you don't have enough stuff around to play, and Bellacore don't do a lot, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Like, the deep striking power is cool, the Lokai is okay, but you don't really need it most of the time, because you get screen anyway. So, and also we were, like, if you want all the warp spawn, you have to make him in a Supreme command. Then you cannot have the -1 to wound on the chicken because he has to be the warlord, so you don't want him in a supreme command. Then he's useful because he gets access to the Nurgle spell, but it's really not anecdotal most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think he's not great. He's okay, obviously, but I wouldn't run him, I think. Just more unit instead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think it feels over here like I'm a huge fan of the Lord of Change, but it feels like in the States, not a lot of people actually play Lord of Change, which is really interesting. It's mostly Bellacore plus Bloodthirster, and then like double Fate Skimmer. But I don't know. I like all those units. I just take all of them because I'm a madman, I guess. Who needs infantry? Get these bloodletters out of my list. We're taking only characters.
Bloodletter are insane. I think I like Lord of Change plus Fate Skimmer plus Bloodthirster. And then like an herald to put banner or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
cool. So that was a draw, but it still puts you into the second to last round here. I guess the semifinals, and this is against Arnie, who's another player who plays on TTS quite a lot. I think you and him both pop in and out of the TacticalTortoise Discord pretty often. And he was also a T5S2 Season 1 competitor.
He's even a mercenary for Team Belgium.
Oh,
yeah, there
you go.
So it was a teammate battle indeed. Like Harlequin versus like
some team killing going on. That's unfortunate.
And he's fucking playing Harlequin.
Yeah, he's playing your faction too.
Yeah, he didn't have to play the Harlequin for a while, so he took that back and played because he's also a Harlequin fan.
Yeah. And he played really just very straightforward list. I think at least over here we've been seeing a lot of like the kind of mixed lists where you take sometimes they're Skyweavers, but usually it's like Void Weavers plus Star Weavers. But he said no, we're all Star Weavers today. So 8 Star Weavers, 8 units of troops, and then a bunch of characters.
Shadow and 1 troop.
Yeah. So how'd this one go for you?
So, bon, I have one advantage is that I knew both army really, really well. So that was big, and also we had talked a lot about that matchup.
Yeah.
And like he need a really, really, really dense table and a good mission to beat me. A mission where he can like have he can make a big gap on primary because his secondary are worse than mine. And if he rush me, I table him. It's what's happening. But he is really good at putting pressure on me and to deny me primary.
Yep.
So in the end, it was happened. He start and like there were a big central ruin where he put like all his army. And it was on mission 21, so the one with the 3 objectives in the middle on the long edge.
Abandoned sanctuaries,
Yeah. So he start put all of that, and then me I start to deep strike on the side and kill turn 1 like 3 boat, 2 unit of troop.
Oh damn.
And then he rush me, and then like we table each other in 2 turns. It was really funny. Like at the end of my turn 2, he had like 3 empty boats. No, 3 empty boat and 3 empty boat, 1 boat full of player and 3 character left. And I had like 3 flamer, 10 rubric, 1 character and 10 terminator. So it was like end of turn 2. Like we took like an hour and a half, like 2 hour and a half to play the 2 first turns, and then did the last 3 in 30 minutes. It was like, and in the end, I won the fight because I had 10 terminator and he didn't. So, but it was a really close game. I only won like 13-7.
Yeah.
It was only like a 10-point difference. Yeah. It was a really, really fun game.
For sure. Yeah, that's interesting. So he basically had a piece of terrain that he could like leapfrog off of, but he couldn't hide entirely, right? So you sort of got to get a little bit of an alpha strength.
He had to screen me because if he doesn't screen, I can go in his back foot and see him.
Oh, sure.
So he was feeding unit to screen me.
Oh, I got
and
you.
then on his turn 2, I had killed so much without like he did go all in to put me on 0.
He had to give you stuff for free, basically.
Yeah.
So you started like up on that trade.
Yeah, but he was up on points because he start and turn 1 I couldn't deny him the 8 on primary because he was on the middle objective with a troop in the middle hiding. And then he put me on 0 2 turns in a row while him getting 8.
Classic.
So he was like, he rushed me everywhere. So I was like, but I was up on material by a lot.
Yeah.
And then in the late game, I managed to come back.
Yeah.
He also denied me a lot with his 2 shadows here. It was annoying. Like he keep denying my like 10 on what I was doing. Like I didn't score well on mutate because he denied on 12 at one point. But it was fun. Cool.
Easy game. Just roll big denies.
And also, yeah, but I mean it was cool.
Yeah. But then that put you into the final game, I guess, against a mixed Imperium list. This one, actually, I've never seen a list that's quite like this. So it's a Sororitas detachment that runs a ton of jump infantry. So triple Zephyrim, triple Repentia, and then also a squad of armigers to add some long range firepower.
You don't lose the secondary because Agent of Imperium.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So this one looks super close. How did this game go?
Yeah. That one was really funny. It was on 31, the one with the asymmetric objective.
Yep.
And so on this mission, it's really easy to deny primary for the one that start because you can put in position.
Yep.
But the second player get a lot of primary point in the end if he managed to be everywhere on the table to take, because you can score 18 points of primary on or 20 even. 20 even on turn 5. So basically what happened is that he start and put him in position, like I say. And then I had to like start to kill him because he start to do sacrifice or the stuff where he scored 5 and 5 on each of his objectives plus 1. So round 1 he scored Sacred 11 points on Sacred Ground plus like his leap and his Defender's Ride I couldn't really deny. So I had to like make a lot of death happening. to make sure in the end I have the early advantage. And also I had grind because I couldn't take Wrath of Magus because he didn't have
No Inquisitor in this one.
and he took the La Passion this time, so he
Yeah.
was really good to kill me. So what happened is I push up one flank and then we fight for a long. And the knight was big because I couldn't deny him a lot of primary because he had the knight on the objective. And when I have to focus on killing Celestine plus Repentia plus Morvenval plus all the sister part, I cannot kill the knight really efficiently. So I couldn't really deny, like I remember my rubric was stuck in his big knight for like the whole game. But in the end, we were almost both table, but I had the advantage to be the one more alive. So on the last turn, I managed to score the big 20 on primary. And I scored, grinded down all the games, so I had 15 on that. And then I had a good amount of banner. And then my last was mutate, which I was like on 9 or 12.
Sure.
So even if he had like a 15 on Defend the Shrine, go to 12 because I take his objective, 12 on... He had 12 on the Miracle Dice one,
Yeah,
and 11 on Sacred Ground, and had a big early advantage on primary. Managed to come back and won by 4 points, something like that.
Yeah, the Sacred Ground, I think, in that mission feels a little bit dangerous, right? Because you only have good access to 3 objectives, and the other 3 are so far away. It's tough to complete a whole action on them to max it.
Yeah, but
so you're like locked at 11, basically.
It's good, like...
Yeah, it's like an easy 11, but it's still 11.
Yeah. Yeah, but like my banner was, because his start was not great, because I only placed 1 in my DZ at the start and couldn't really place a lot more. And then and then what else? And my mutate was also not great because like he had deny and I had to make kill happening, because if we stay like this, I think he would have won. So I had to rush him, I think. Like, to make the game happen. Not
sure.
like we both stay in your DZ and like we score our point and then he would have won, I think.
Yeah. But I do love that mission, though, because it makes like those games like that happen where the defending player really feels like the defending player, where like, you know, the attacker has to push super far forward and has to rack up those points immediately, because that late game scoring is like so beneficial for the player going second. I played a... Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, as the player that goes second, I need to kill him to make sure on the last turn I manage to kill all those points.
Yeah. If you're being tabled, you don't have enough stuff to go to their side of the table anyway. So yeah. I played a similar game recently against Chaos Knights, where they went first, pushed everything up in the middle, denied me primary, and I got, between primary and secondary, I got a 30-point swing on the last turn. And to win, and he thought he had won the game already, and I was like, no, watch this. But it feels real good to make that happen, for sure. And that puts you undefeated, 7-0-1, to tie at least on record, at the end there. So you were, I think, second on tiebreakers, but also undefeated alongside the top player.
Yeah, so it was cool. I was really happy because I faced like 5 of my opponent was in top 12, so it was really cool.
Yeah. So it was your round 6 opponent, right? Or
it's the demon that won.
Yeah. Matthias, who did win with, I don't know what was the tiebreaker? Was it
the
differential?
The order. No, the first was the order of where you get the lose. So how do we call that?
Yeah, path to victory.
The path to victory, and then it was the differential, and he had like, I think it was like 125 to 122.
Looking at it here, yeah. So path to victory was tied. He was up 2 points on battle points.
And I was up on Strange to Scheduler.
2 points. 129 to 127 was the tiebreaker there. So you were like a banner away from taking down the whole event, which is so close. That's crazy. But congratulations, dude. I mean, that, 0 losses out of 8 consecutive games out of an event with that many players and that level of competition is like insane. So, congratulations. Are you going to stick with the Thousand Suns and Demons for a while?
I mean, I'm yet to I'm trying to find the weakness of the like trying to find if it's really good. Like I think it is, or like, but I think I am. Like I'm not seeing a big counter to Thousand Sun right now, so I'm kind of happy
Yeah.
with the list.
Yeah. So if you had to pick out something that a matchup that you would be worried about, what would it be?
It's like Custodes and Brood Angel.
Yeah.
Like they are like Blood Angel is kind of a good faction right now, but it's again not the top of the top.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I can play into Custodes, into not Custodes, Blood Angel, because like you can kill them in Magic at least, and but Custodes, I'm fucking scared of like if the guys randomly get 9 bike in Emperor Chosen just for fun or something, he's gonna wreck my army. But at least I'm happy they are like good for me. They are not God tier anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For sure.
besides that, I'm pretty okay in most of the matchup. Like I thought about CSM, but CSM is pretty okay for Tisson because better secondary.
Mortal Wounds are so brutal for
Yeah.
Chaos Space Marines. Yeah.
Exactly, and my secondary are just better. So I just have to withhold the aggression because he's gonna rush me to get the. So I have to play the combat phase really well to avoid getting like. I have to charge him to make sure he doesn't charge me, right?
Right.
And then,
And to be fair, I think that a lot of the Chaos Space Marine builds they do sort of struggle a little bit with the MSU style because they really want to like get into a big slugging match with your melee stuff,
exactly.
and their fight firsts and their fight on deaths like all are really beneficial. But if you're like, well, here's 5 Rubric Marines, they're just standing in front of you. You're just like, cool. I guess 10 possessed kill them. Like what a waste of time.
Yes, no, they exactly that. Then I have like Tyrannid is pretty okay too with the addition of Flamer. That help. And I kill them just fine. They have a better secondary game than them also, so it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Because they cannot really take like taking ritual or like they rely on the secondary, the psychic secondary most of the time, and it's not idle versus me because I can deny on 3d6, and I'm really happy to spend my CP every turn to deny on 3d6 the psychic interrogation.
For sure. And that's if they get it, right? Because like you only have 3 characters and they don't really have to be that far forward.
I mean, or they take ritual and then I do the same.
Right.
But yeah, so they will probably not take that, and then they have to like rely on no prisoner and cranial feasting, which means they had to kill me, so they had to come to me, so I can see if they do mistakes. So I'm pretty okay in my Tyrannid matchup. My Toe matchup is really good too. My Harlequin matchup is really good. So yeah, I have my Votan matchup is really good. So like I have good matchup on the top of the field.
Hell yeah.
The sister matchup is also good. It's harder, but it's really manageable to beat it.
There's a little more counterplay there, but you can probably outplay them.
You have to stay outside of 24 and respect them. Like if the terrain are really good for them, they're gonna be if they can rush in the middle and then hit everything on every objective, you're fucked.
Right.
But most of the terrain don't allow that, or you can prevent that by you rushing in the middle first or stuff like that.
Sure, that makes sense. Cool.
But yeah, no.
So I think we'll as we wrap up here, we'll send it back to chat. There was a couple questions as we were talking that I think we'll talk about. But if anybody in chat has any more questions for Liam, go ahead and throw them in there. I'll do a little bit of Q&A. The first one I saw, let me take a look here. Pasha30 asking how you feel into the Knight matchup. Pasha plays both Gas Knights and Thousand Suns, and and his Thousand Suns friend thinks it's impossible to win. Is the Knight matchup impossible to win, Liam?
So it depends. So it's never impossible to win first, but so there is 2 archetypes that exist for Knight. So it's the Freeblade Lance more, so where you play Freeblade, and then the Taranis Knight. So I think the Taranis because when you play Mechanicus, you have the Philnopen versus Mortal Wound. It makes it a little bit harder to play versus it. And also the Taranis tend to build with the whole Mortal Wound combo, which kill you. But then the free blends is really easy to beat because they don't do a lot of damage to you, and they don't like Mortal Wound that much, so you can kill them pretty easily. And then the Taranis Knight is probably harder. I didn't play it myself, I'm not gonna lie. But I think you have to rely on angle because you with the deep strike it's often that is even if you lose the whole battle generally, you can choose to play unfair battle in your advantage. Like you can decide to play like that little battle with like you 10 Terminator and you Flamer against that one knight and you will win. And you have to only win those little battle to in the end win the game, right?
Yeah.
But I would say it's probably harder versus knight, but focus on killing the little and you have always a good secondary advantage generally. Even true knight have really good secondary. But I would say knight is probably harder than chaos knight. And between the two knight, I would say that the free blends is just okay because you rush, but Taranis is annoying.
Sure.
Or like, but I mean, it's a game to play. I think it's not impossible at all.
Yeah, and it seems to me like it depends a lot on how well you play the rubric brain brick too, right? Because you need to be able to like, apply the damage from that into a armature every turn, but keep it out of line of sight from the big knights, right? Because the armatures aren't really going to scratch the paint too much, but you'll kill them. You'll kill 1 to 2 a turn with that thing. But if you get hit by the big mortal wound combo, then that sucks really hard.
Yeah. You need basically that's generally the plan, because right now it's really easy to score. So you need to focus on attrition at the start of the game. Like you make sure you get material advantage at the start. Make sure you kill enough knight while not getting hit in return, which is kind of easy to do with the list. But yeah, and then also you can kill the big knight because Terminator with strength 5 and +1 to wound are like not bad at killing knight.
Right.
Like at least but you need to be able to like you cannot go for that.
You don't have to like peel the onion first, right? Because they're going to be surrounded by the armatures to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. You need to make sure like you choose the good timing to do it. Like you cannot afford to rush turn 1.
Right.
Turn 1 you have to like what I would say generally is like wait until turn 3 and then turn 3 you go all in at that point. Because at that point, if you still have all your units alive, he cannot kill you in 2 turns or 3.
It sounds like it's very much of like kind of a sandpapering game where like they have to send their armatures forward to block your scoring and to do their secondaries, and then you get to kill whatever armatures they give you, which is probably 2. And if you can do that for the first 2 to 3 turns, then each of those armatures is 150 points, so they're going to be losing a lot of stuff. But you don't really have to give them too much to do with, and then you can kind of like sort of beta strike them, I guess, once you've killed enough that your Terminators can come play.
Exactly.
There you go. Not impossible, chat. Torin asking, how would you deal with a more traditional Leviathan list? Max T5 wound warriors and Raveners with a Flyrant. Playing the matchup later today with a list very similar to yours. Torin trying to get some hot tips to win his games.
So I played a lot against the David Gayler list. So 2 RP, 18 warrior, 4 warrior, the Hive Talent. Like the trick is, if there is RP, the trick is to kill the RP, like you want to go, like you give up the board on the early game. It's often that, So you know if you try to fight them early, you're gonna lose. So you give up the board and you try to kill as many things without dying in return. Like you see a gimmick here, it's the same as against Knight. But then you wait, like the Flamer will just do fine into Warrior. Even through 5-up, and Transhumant, you just kill Warrior fine. And also, even if you don't kill Warrior, you can charge Warrior. Like, Warrior when they are like low AP, so they don't do, like, you're really scared of like the Tyrant and the Mortal Wounds. From the like Zoanthrope, like the shooting also is kind of annoying. But then you focus on like you let him overextend because his gameplay is to go deny you primary generally. So when he overextend with Warrior, you deep strike into the edge and try to win, but you have to give up the board at the early stage. That would be like my advice. Like you let him score point early and catch later.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense too. It feels like it's very similar to Knights, right? Where like if you let them do their thing and you run out in the middle of nowhere and they shoot you and they smite you or whatever, you're like gonna die. But if you force them to come into you, I think it's the case for most psychic factions and probably Thousand Sons, even more so, where your damage output increases like exponentially the closer you are to your opponent, right? Because if they're at extreme range from you, you can maybe shoot them, but if they get into that like 18 to 24 inches, then you can shoot and smite them, and then if they get within 12, you can shoot and then smite and then charge them. And so if you set up a situation where they have to come into that close range, you just your damage output skyrockets, and you just like can rip these whole warrior breaks off the table very quickly.
And also, if you your damage doesn't decrease in the game. Like, if you lose the big Terminator, most of your damage are still there with the smite, the shooting of the rubric, and stuff like that. So generally, like, you use the Terminator early, and then on turn 3, you force them to commit a lot of things to kill them, and then you kill everything back with what's left in your list, which is generally 30 rubric and character, and some flamer, and that's often enough to kill whatever are killing your Terminator, and then they don't have enough to kill the rubric, so you just take the board with the rubric. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess that's like a symptom, or I guess like an effect of having a lot of your damage output coming from the psychic phase, right? Where like you're only ever smiting with so many models a turn anyway, right? Or at least successfully. So
you can rely on
if you lose a couple, it doesn't actually change how much damage you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Whereas like if they were all shooting every turn, you lost 3, it'd be like, well, that sucks, half my shooting's gone. But if only 2 of them are smiting, you could lose 4 and it doesn't matter.
Also, losing the rubric are bad for Kabbalistic points.
Yeah.
Because they are the big source of the Kabbalistic points. So keep them alive for the late game is really important to still have a trick. To still have, like, I still always want to have 12 to 13 Kabbalistic ritual to always be able to do my thing. Just one.
And I guess like from like sort of a strategic standpoint, the rubric, like having more rubrics to do more smiting is better in the late game. Because the longer the game goes, the more powerful mortal wounds tend to be, right? Because early game, you're smiting, you're hitting screens, and you're hitting chaff, and you're hitting objective holders. But you shoot those to death with the Terminators, and in the late game, you're starting smiting, beaters, you're smiting vehicles, you're smiting characters, and that's actually when you're real, like, that's when mortal wounds like turn on really hard. So that makes total sense. Actually, yeah, that's like a really good insight. Actually, is like the rubrics are. It's not so much like it's 6 individual units of rubrics. It's like it's this one like. Kind of distributed like amalgam that like turns on as the game goes years later. So that's kind of cool. I like that. Well, Liam, I think that's all the questions from chat. So, dude, thanks for coming on to the show. This has been super cool. Chat, thanks for watching, and congratulations again on Undefeated. 140 person major going undefeated is like freaking super cool.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on again. It was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we'll probably see you on the channel at some point in the not too distant future. Maybe play some TTS. Maybe come back and compete for a T5SC spot.
With the real life coming back a lot more.
Yeah.
I tend to only play with friends on TTS, not doing a lot of tournaments.
Sure. That makes sense.
Maybe because I'm gonna do some team events around. I don't know if those count. But
cool. Yeah. Generally they do. Yeah. We the like WTC style team events, like 5x or 1v1s is definitely works. I imagine you're not playing like 2v2s and too much. So yeah. And I think we're gonna do another server team event within the next couple of weeks here before the end of the season. So that'd be sweet. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, we will see maybe.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. Thanks again for coming on, chat. Thanks, everybody, for coming and watching. Remember to keep it classy and have happy wargaming, everybody.